And I have to tell you, I really enjoyed this movie, but it also had me on the edge of my seat and it had me really stressed out because
Yeah.
fire is something, I mean, it's always been one of my biggest fears, but it's a reality. It's,
Yeah.
it's a problem that's getting worse. I want to hear from you about what sort of drew you to this film, and particularly the role of Dave.
Yeah, well, when I got the script, there had been a lot of fires in the news even back then, like 2 years ago when we made the film. I think it was November 2021. And I thought what a beautiful story about this family who's overcoming this harrowing event. And I really enjoyed watching them kind of grow through this through the pressures of what they were, all the difficult moments they were going through that evening. But also I felt like it was a poignant story, and it was based on true events. I never felt like the movie was trying to bring awareness to a subject matter because we have enough awareness in the news already. But I felt like this particular story kind of gives you an inside look as to, what some of the families are going through that you see in the news, because you hear them tell their stories on the news. Maybe you see video footage, but I don't think you get a real sense of it. And through this film, I'm hoping that when people watch it, they look at it and go, well, God, I don't want my family to ever have to go through that, or anybody I love, or anybody I know, or what a horrible experience. And maybe we can come together as a community and try to figure out how to curtail some of these fires. I don't know the answer, but I know that as human beings, we've overcome a lot more. So I think if we put our minds to it, we can do that. And put us, how to slow these fires down and figure out ways to protect our homes and protect each other. Such a tragic event that just happened in Maui, but the overall umbrella of this film to me felt more like a throwback to a family survival film. So that was interesting. But under that umbrella, there's a lot of takeaways. So one of them being that at the end of the film, we try to celebrate and give respect to 911 operators, first responders, firefighters, for putting their lives on the line and for the jobs that they do. There's a really nice arc of a 911 operator in this film, so you get to see how, their heroism. A lot of times, they're not really thought of, because you think of firemen going and running into a burning building, and police officers, but 911 operators have a very stressful job because they have other people's lives on the other end of that phone, and a lot of times they don't know what happens to them, and they have to move on to the next caller and the next caller and the next caller. And this girl in the film plays a 911 operator. Her character has only been on the job for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden she finds herself at ground zero of this tragic event and trying to do the best she can. um which is an interesting watch to see her arc and how she helps our family. And then other takeaways, underneath that umbrella of this family survival film, for us, it was important to really show this family, this family unit that you become a part of. I feel like when you're watching the film, you get to feel like either a fly on the wall or you're part of this family. And this family, in the old throwback survival films, the patriarch of the family is always the hero. But in this movie, they're a family unit and they're helping each other. There's each character, my character, my wife in the movie's character, she plays a woman who's 8 months pregnant, Fiona Dourif. And to me, she's the biggest hero of the movie. Eight months pregnant, she's running through these fires and smoke. And then Asher Angel, who plays my son, has heroic moments. And my character's the dad. He's doing the best he can, but he doesn't have all the answers. And I love how they lean on each other, and I love how they keep each other going. And then another great takeaway is, being able to have faith, and being able to know that a higher power is going to look out for you, and to ask for that. There's a moment in the movie where they're praying, and then the fires kind of start, they're going through this really horrible road of fires, and they don't know if they're going to make it, and they start praying, and then the fires just start to fade out, and they get to their home and it's been untouched, and it's almost like a miracle, and it is, and I believe in miracles. I believe in a higher power. I believe that, it's important to have spirituality. So this film gives a little bit of that takeaway as well. And yeah, just the family dynamic, that family unit dynamic. I really think that's an important takeaway, because in the beginning of the film, my character, he's saddled with all the stress and pressures of finances. He's got a dad who's sick. He's got a wife, who's having a baby. He's got a new business, and he's got a son who's going to college. He doesn't know how to pay for that. And then
Mm.
this fire breaks out, and all of those mountainous issues become anthills compared to surviving the night with his family. And I think, at the end of that journey, he walks away feeling like, if I could get through this night, we could get through anything as a family. And I think that's an important takeaway too.
Yeah, you definitely learn your priorities and what matters
Yeah.
to you. And I think that is definitely something I took away from the movie. It really puts everything in perspective. Did you hear from first responders and firefighters who have seen this movie? Because as you said, this film really does honor them, and it also highlights their stories. And like you said, sometimes they can sort of disappear to us, right? We don't think about them.
Yeah, we've had firefighters watch it, and they've been very proud of the film. We dedicate this film to them at the end of the movie. And our film went to Mammoth Film Festival, and in Mammoth they have a lot of fires up at the Mammoth Lakes. We had the whole fire department come down, fire trucks. They brought fire trucks, and they were really excited to watch the film and really enjoyed it. And we gave them a standing ovation, and I was proud to have them there. And then recently we just did a pre-screening in Oregon, and I had 911 operators there, firefighters there, and they felt the same. I think they feel really happy to be acknowledged, and for people to get a sense of their struggles, and what they have to face on a daily basis, and through these events that are so tragic. You go to work and you don't know, as a firefighter, if you're going to make it that day. So many firefighters lose their lives trying to help others. And then as far as the 911 operator, like I said, she's just a young woman trying to do her best in a small sleepy town, and then all of a sudden this event happens, and she's one of the an interesting line that her boss says is, she gets so frustrated because she doesn't know how to help everybody, and he says, you can't help everybody. All you could do is help one family at a time. And that's a hard pill to swallow, knowing that there are people that might not make it. And even with all the best advice you can give them, and the best, trying to get them to safety, she has to go home that night knowing that a lot of families in that story didn't make it. But she could live with the fact that one family did, and then she can carry that with her, and she made a difference. And that's important, that they make a difference.
Absolutely. So, given that the film was inspired by true events, did you consult with any families who've lived through such disasters to really understand the emotions and the struggles that were involved with it?
Yeah, they were inspired by true events, and it's an amalgamation of a few different families' stories. I know that Nick Lyon and Ron Pierre, who wrote the script, they sat and did a lot of research on that. Thankfully, when I showed up as an actor, a lot of it was already in the script. So a lot of people asked me, like, did I have to do a lot of research? And I've done a lot of research on a lot of different films. Sometimes I have to learn different skill sets, and I have to learn, how to play instruments, or I have to learn, things that are outside of me. But in this film, I really connected with this character. I felt, he was a dad. I understood his struggles. I understood who he was. And then it just became about dropping me into that situation and using my imagination to imagine what that situation would be like with my family all that my family's lives at stake, and me being the patriarch of the family, trying to get them through. Um, and then leaning with an 8 month old pregnant with an 8 month pregnant woman, you know, as my wife, like how do you, you know, you can't give up. You got to keep moving and learning. You know, there's a lot of lessons in that film too. One of them being a lot of times people think the fires aren't going to come their way, or you know, there's an evacuation, and they think won't come to me. And in the beginning of this film, my character's reluctant to like do anything because he's like, oh, the fires are all the way across the gorge. They're not gonna. But it happens that fast, and this film shows you just how fast it happens. He goes to the hardware store to pick up some supplies, and by the time he gets home, he can't even get back to his family. The whole area is being roadblocked, and they're trying to evacuate people, and that's terrifying when you know your family's in trouble and you can't get to them. You know,
Yeah.
so a good takeaway is if there's an evacuation, better to be safe than sorry, and always you know, there's a great line in the film that my character says to his son, things can be replaced but people can't.
Mm.
And I think that's a good line to go by, you know, like don't worry about stuff, just worry about your family and getting them out. And even if it feels silly, you know, or you know, you think, oh, I got to stay back and protect my stuff, don't, like, go, because it's more important that you get your family out.
Absolutely. Well, what a great note to end on. Peter, thank you so much. It was
Thank
nice to
you so
meet
much
you.
for having me. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time.